The U.S. government has lost track of nearly 1,500 migrant children. All of them were placed in sponsor homes after crossing the border unaccompanied or being separated from their parents shortly after crossing. So outrage is growing with the federal government insisting that it is now not legally responsible for them. Rosa Flores is live from San Antonio with more. How does this work, Rosa?
Well, Allison, good morning. As you mentioned, this is garnering a lot of attention, especially after an announcement made by Attorney General Jeff Sessions earlier this month saying that anyone who crosses the border would be prosecuted. So by default, if these individuals, and we know that a lot of them are mothers with their children, are going to be prosecuted, they're going to be separated from their children at some point during prosecution, and those children will end up in the custody of the United States. And of course, the problem and the question is, how can the United States government lose 1,500 children? Now, we should add that this is not a...
Let's guess. Their pedophile ring. These 1,500 children went to these pedophile rings. That ain't, that hard to figure out.
Situation that's isolated to the Trump administration. In fact, the Senate Permanent Subcommittee on Investigations has been investigating this for 26 months. That goes back to the Obama administration, and issued a scathing report back in 2016 saying that the policies and procedures were just not adequate to keep these children safe. Some of those children ending up in the hands of traffickers, according to a report by this subcommittee.
Of course, like I just said. Human trafficking, they ended up in their sick satanic pedophile ring.
Of course, the members of the subcommittee very concerned about what the United States government is doing to make sure that these children are safe. Take a listen.
What is the number of children who have been separated from adults who say that they are their parents and they are seeking asylum at the border? Do you know
Senator,
that?
I don't know that offhand, so I don't want to misspeak. I will bring it back to you.
Do you have a general idea?
I do not want to speculate.
Do you know if any of those cases have resulted in trafficking charges?
It's my understanding that they have, but I do not know the specific numbers, so I want to provide you accuracy.
Now, once HHS says that they give the child over to a sponsor, here's what they say happens. Quote, he or she ceases to be in the custody of the U.S. government, and all HHS provided subsistence ends at that point, and the child becomes the responsibility of his or her parent, guardian, or sponsor. And Dave and Allison, some of these senators asking, okay, so if there's no legal responsibility, does the U.S. government have a moral responsibility to take care of these children?
Okay, Rosa, thank you very much for setting all of that up for us. Let us discuss it now and more with CNN political analysts David Drucker and Brian Karam. Brian Karam, so listen, we know
This is just pathetic.
I mean, the number that we have from the latest articles is that 40,000 immigrant children, 40,000 in 2017, were separated from their parents, and the U.S. government tries to put them with another close blood relative, but sometimes can't, and sends them with a vetted sponsor, but then loses track of them. And what it sounds like is that the U.S. government is just not equipped. They just don't have the manpower or apparatus to track what happens to these kids.
No, they're taking them.
Allison, I mean, you go back when I was working the border back in the 80s and the 90s, and they didn't have the people then, and they don't have the people now. You can't keep track of them, and there's no way of knowing. And when they say vetted sponsors, what does vetted mean? And when they say 1,500, that's probably going to be a low end. Your number is a scarier number to look at. But what's the moral imperative for our government, founded on give us your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free? At the end of the day, what does it say for us as a people, we the people, when we allow this to happen? And the reporter down in San Antonio is right. It hasn't gone on. This isn't just the administration, the current administration. This goes back to at least Obama. And I would maintain it goes back at least as far as when I worked down there, and that's 30 years of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, yep, so, and so they're ending up at the sick-ass pedophile ring. That's exactly what's happening to these children. The U.S. government knows what's happening to these children. That's a bunch of bullshit saying that they don't know. They're ending up in trafficking hands and going right down there to that pizza shop, getting these pedophiles to come in. That's exactly what the hell is happening to these kids. And it's sick and it's pathetic and it needs to stop.
Problem, but here's what the president tweeted about this subject. Put pressure on the Democrats to end the horrible law that separates children from their parents once they cross the border into the U.S., catch and release, so on and so forth. So he's blaming Democrats, correct?
Of course.
Well, here is Jeff Sessions laying out exactly what the administration policy.
Why are they separating the children from their parents anyway?
If you don't want your child to be separated, then don't bring them across the border illegally.
If you are smuggling a child, then we will prosecute you. And that child may be separated from you as required by law.
It seems pretty crystal clear there, David Drucker.
Yeah, look, I think there are a couple of things to understand here. One, we have the bureaucratic mismanagement, which is endemic to the federal government across administrations, Republican and Democrat. But here we have a sort of change in tone and policy from this administration that is clearly trying to use this as a deterrent, and in order to discourage illegal border crossings, warnings that your child will be taken from you and you will be separated. And so I think that's the part that this administration has to grapple with, which is if it's going to use the policy as a deterrent and talk about it in this way, how is it going to ensure that these children are secure, that they know where they are, and they can end up back with their parents if this is the policy that the president wants to pursue? Of course, interestingly enough, the president says he doesn't want to pursue the policy. He doesn't like the policy, and he's blaming Democrats in Congress. So fine, so go to Congress, present them with a plan or negotiate
and change
a plan
it
to try and solve this. And there's actually talks right now in the House of Representatives as they still struggle to try and deal with the DACA issue. And I'm curious to see if they're going to try and roll this issue into that. The problem is that it's an election year, and even if you can get something out of the House, to get it out of the Senate when there is so much politically riding on the line on such a hot, supercharged political issue that can cut so many ways and is going to have people so hesitant to do anything, is part of the problem. And it's one of the reasons we have not been able to solve the illegal immigration issue or immigration reform in general, going back, at least to George W. Bush through Barack Obama.
Yeah.
You're never going to solve it that way. And it will take upon them are no worse than what they're already facing. And I would very much like Jeff Sessions and the President of the United States to have to live for a week under those socioeconomic situations and then see what they would do. Because it's very
Well, I'll tell you what, this is a bunch of bullshit. They should be held liable for losing these children. Let's say we throw all them in jail for losing these children. Where are these children at? It don't make no sense. Come on now, 1,500 children is just up and gone and nobody can find them. That's a bunch of bullshit.
Genuine for both of them to sit there and preach what they're preaching while people are suffering and we do nothing to help it.
Exactly.
I just think the other side of the issue, Allison, is that the president
on doing something about the immigration problem, however, whatever you think the problems are, and he has yet to really use a significant portion of his presidency to try and drive a legislative fix to this, which I find very interesting because it is so central to his messaging and to what he says he is concerned about when dealing with the future of the country.
Well, that's because it's very complex, and he wants a very simple solution, something that he can preach to the base to say that he's done something when they don't want to look at the complexities of the issue. And
to your point,
is the issue.
Forget about it in an election year. All right, Brian, David, thank you both. Appreciate you.
This is a bunch of bullshit. It's totally a bunch of bullshit. These kids are up and missing, and they know exactly where these children went into the sick-ass pedophile ring that's going on, and something needs to be done to stop this crap. These children don't deserve this at all. It's just flat out disgusting and horrible. So our U.S. government isn't capable of even knowing where children are. Do you understand how stupid that sounds? Our U.S. government is not reliable enough to take care of children. What the hell is wrong in this country?